We'll start with the prayers. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanuramarthanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagatkurum. Last week we did the Dhyana Shlokas of Bhagavad Gita. We summarized all the Dhyana Shlokas, which is generally used for meditation and chanting before the Bhagavad Gita classes. Today we are going to start the first chapter, which consists of 47 verses. Generally speaking, the first chapter is only an historical chapter. It gives the background for the Gita teaching. Shankaracharya, in his commentary, does not comment on the first chapter. He starts his commentary from the 11th verse of the second chapter. But I found that there are many new students who are starting the Bhagavad Gita study in this group. Therefore, I decided to take the first chapter also, so that you feel that you have completed the entire 18 chapters. With this short brief background about the first chapter, let's enter into the proper introduction of the first chapter. Gita is a part of Mahabharata. Mahabharata also consists of many verses, and Bhagavad Gita is right in the center of Mahabharata text, which I said in the last session. There are 18 chapters and about 700 verses, 701 verses, if you add one verse which has been added by somebody else later on. Now, there are three basic principles we should understand when we study the Bhagavad Gita. Why do we study Bhagavad Gita? Why do we, every Saturday, why do we need to come for 1.5 hours and study this text? As I said before, we come to the study of Veda to have a better quality of life. I would like to enjoy this life to the full extent while living here. The first principle we should understand is I am responsible for my own life. There is no use blaming your wife, your children, your parents, your society, your country, and say, well, all this is happening, I am affected by all of them. Yes, you are affected, but then ultimately the Gita way of life is I should take care of my own life. Alone to the alone, all alone is life. Many aspects in our life, we have to face the situation alone. Many times. Alone to the alone. When it comes to Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna teaches us there is something which is superior to our life, which we don't know. And that is called as Atma. My journey of life is meant to reach that Atma. That is the vision of Bhagavad Gita. Atma is alone. Means it does not allow any of the worldly existence in it. I, the self, I, the individual, have to understand my real nature being Atma. In the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, one should lift one's own lower self by the higher self. What does it mean? Use your intellect to lift your emotional nature. Emotions are a part of the mind, but intellect is higher than the mind. And then Atma is still higher. So use your own self, means use your willpower to rise from where you are today as an individual full of emotions, delusions, sorrow, and then climb on to the self which is bliss. That is one principle. The second principle is have the faith that there is something called as God, higher self, Brahman. These are all names only. But what you should know is there is something which is higher, I don't know. So when you start the study, have complete faith in the Bhagavad Gita and says that that text will teach me. Whatever is the nature of that Atma is the nature, is what is the study which I am doing, which I am trying to understand. Some teachers, they say the real God is not outside you, but it is inside you, who gives you the inner strength. We all have mental strength, physical strength, intellectual strength, but we don't know that we have the spiritual strength. That is what we have to discover in Bhagavad Gita. That is the second principle. First principle, I am responsible. So take charge. Like all of you have said, I am going to do Bhagavad Gita study in 2026 and 27. So take charge in life, then you are on a path. Second, have faith in the scriptures. The third is live life of values, virtues, morals. This is the psychological hygiene which is required for the study of Gita. Dharmic way of life, as much as possible. You see, we all are living in the world now, but these are the three fundamental principles we have to follow throughout our life. Bhagavad Gita says there are three types of yogas to connect with the Atma. Yoga means connection. Connection between what and what? Between me, the jiva, the individuality, which is called as ahamkara, ego, with the higher Atma, the self. Atma is called as the self. The first level is called as karma yoga. Karma means activity. Throughout our life, there is not a single moment where you can be without activity. Throughout our life. Lord Krishna will say in the 3rd chapter, not even a kshanam, not even a moment, you can be without the doing some activity, either physical activity, mental activity. Some activity will keep on going. The second lifestyle is Upasana Yoga, the second level of study. So Karma Yoga we are going to study in 3rd chapter, 4th chapter, 5th chapter. Upasana Yoga we are going to study in the 6th chapter predominantly. Upasana means what? I need to make my mind fit for the study of the higher self. Today my mind is a gross mind. It can only perceive gross things, objects, beings in the universe. But this instrument is not good enough for me to know the higher nature, which is pure self, which is without the world, without the body, without the mind, as we have seen in Tattvabodha. Upasana Yoga, second level. Third level is Jnana Yoga. Jnana Yoga consists of Atma Vichara. I am only introducing the Bhagavad Gita study now. Later on we'll see how each verse will take it up. Jnana Yoga is Atma Vichara. In Veda, the learning process is an inquiry process. It is not subduing your mind and intellect. It is making your mind and intellect very active. That is why I have created that Gita chat group in the WhatsApp, meant only for students who are at the moment attending the Gita classes. If you have not joined, please join. A lot of questions were discussed in the chat group last week. Very interesting questions. Jnana Yoga consists of Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam, which I introduced last week. What are the 3 main lessons which we learn from Jnana Yoga? The world can be divided into Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara. Jiva means I, the individual being. Jagat means the world consisting of mountains, rivers, the entire world of inert objects. And also world also includes other beings. Ishvara means the God who has created or who is projecting this world for us. So basically, fundamentally, there is Jiva, Jivatma, Paramatma. Paramatma means Ishvara. Jivatma means the individual. Paramatma means the entire world, including my body-mind complex. That is what we understand as Paramatma. So please understand these two very clearly right in the beginning. We'll be using these two terms. They are technical terms. You should know. We are going to study it throughout Bhagavad Gita. Jivatma, Paramatma. Jivatma, Paramatma. Paramatma, Jiva Atma means the body-mind complex together with this Atma. Param Atma. Param means Supreme Atma. Supreme means the entire world body-mind complex. Entire. If there are 3 billion people, 4 billion people in the world, that is what is called as Jagat. In the vision of the Indian scriptures called as Upanishads, I, the Jiva, has got a substratum called as Atma. Atma is basically consciousness. We call it as Sat Chit Ananda. Pure consciousness, pure existence, and pure Ananda. This is the nature of all the jivas, which we don't know. We are ignorant, totally ignorant about it. What is the nature of Paramatma? The nature of Paramatma, which is the entire cosmos, is also Sat Chit Anand. This is a different vision than what our perceptions will tell us. It is only possible when you use the Shastra, the scriptures, as the instrument, pramanam, to know this truth. So we should know that there is the body-mind complex, there is a world. But the bottom line for both of that is something called as consciousness. So the third aspect, the third lesson we should learn is the common element between the Jivatma and Paramatma is called as Asipada, which is called as the truth, ultimate truth, or the reality. So, Jiva is Tvam, Ishvara is Tat. Asi means oneness between Jiva and Ishvara. So the Tattvam, the principle behind the whole world and the principle behind my body-mind complex is the same, which is consciousness. Very unique word. Atma is a very unique word in the Indian scriptures. Can you give an example? If you ask me an example in the world, Jivatma is generally compared to a wave. Paramatma is compared to the ocean. Superficially seeing, a wave is tiny, ocean is large, infinite. Wave is born and gone. Ocean is nityaha. Eternally it is there. But what is the commonness between the wave and the ocean? When I look at the wave, I should have the vision of wave is nothing but water. Ocean is also nothing but water. So if I have the water vision, then I have the oneness vision. Jivas are all existing. They are all conscious. The entire world is existing. So existence is common between Jiva and Paramatma. Consciousness, the Lord, we call it, He is Vishwarupa Ishvara. He can see the entire world, like the ocean. I can only see a small portion of the world. But consciousness, which is the seer in both of us, is the same. From the consciousness level, we can say we are Purnaha. Purnaha means I am complete. I don't lack anything. As a body and mind, I lack hundreds of things. I want this, I want this, I want that. But when I come to realize I am not the body-mind complex, I am the consciousness, the inner content, which is a pure entity. It is nityaha. It is always there. That is why we always have the feeling that we have not changed. Consciousness is nirvikaraha. Nirvikaraha means there is no modification in consciousness. During childhood, I was consciousness. During youth, I was consciousness. Last year, I was conscious. Today, I am consciousness. Tomorrow, again, I will be consciousness. the consciousness, the awareness principle in this body does not change. Even when the body falls, consciousness continues. In consciousness, the waking state comes, the dream state comes, the sleep state comes, childhood comes, youth comes, old age comes, new body comes. Again the cycle starts. Knowing this consciousness is the Sara of Gita. One Atma, which is appearing as this Jiva Jagat Ishvara, it does not become three, but it is only appearing as this world. Knowing that nature is called as moksha. Last week we talked about Dharma, Artha, Kama. Again there will be a slide which talks about the 4 goals of life. A teaching is generally in scriptures is between a student and a teacher. If you take any Upanishad, Chandogya Upanishad, Swetaketu and Uddalaka. Katho Upanishad, Yamadharmaraja and Nachiketa. Similarly, in Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna and Krishna. So it's a dialogue. Arjuna raises several doubts during the 18 chapters. Every chapter you will find some questions. Krishna very patiently answers those questions. A story is an indirect form of teaching of the essence of the world. And the teacher is Shrotriya Brahmanishta. Shrotriya means, this word comes in Mundaka Upanishad, Shrotriya means he should be knowledgeable about the scriptures. Brahmanishta means what? He should have a firm holding in his life that Aham Brahmasmi is the ultimate truth. This is the nature of a teacher who will teach Atma Vidya. What about the student? Student's attitude should be of surrender to the teacher. I am here to learn Atma Vidya. With that attitude, the teaching will become very powerful. That is where the Shraddha, the faith comes in the scriptures. All human beings, they look at peace of mind and happiness within themselves as the ultimate goal in life. At any time, in any period of time, 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago, people wanted peace of mind and happiness. Today, people want again peace of mind, shanti and sukham, happiness, as the destination in life. Every day they want to get up, be happy, be peaceful. Again tomorrow get up, be happy, be peaceful. That is the goal for all the people. That is a universal goal. And what does the Veda state? Our experience is every day morning when I've got hundreds of problems. And then whole day I'm trying to solve those problems. Many of times I cannot solve the problems. And then again it continues. That is what is called as samsara. What does the Gita teach us? Gita takes us to a higher level of the mind, where the mind realizes its natural state, which is peace and happiness, which is nityaha, which is always there. See, sometimes they give an example in the Upanishad of a river and some moss which covers the river. The moss will cover the entire water. So our mind, like that moss, covers our nature. Below that moss, you remove the moss a little bit and you can see the pure water, crystal clear water. Similarly, when we, through the study of Bhagavad Gita, we understand how to control our sense organs, how to control our mind, make them composed, equipoised, and then listen to what Bhagavad Gita says. You are that Atma. Knowing that Atma, you are free from misery and sorrow. How to discover this Atma is the study of Bhagavad Gita. There are two methods to happiness and peace. One is have a proper way of life, right action and right knowledge. Right action is given in the Veda Purva portion. Shankaracharya in his commentary devotes 400 slides like this only to talk about Veda Purva and Veda Anta. He gives what is the difference between Veda Purva portion. Purva means the initial portion of the Veda, which consists of rituals, which consist of how to attain the 40 samskaras in life, how to do those samskaras. All types of details are given. How to get a better world, how to go to Swarga, how to go to the heavens. There are certain rituals which are there. That is the Veda Purva, right action. The second aspect of our happiness, so if you keep on doing right action today and tomorrow and day after tomorrow, you will be happy. Right action. Second is right knowledge. Right knowledge means I should know that my center is Atma. Our mind can rest in Atma all the time. Today I don't know that center. Therefore, mind is always agitated, disturbed, always wants to run outside into the world. It wants to see so many things in the WhatsApp, in the YouTube. Hundreds of things are there. You can spend morning, say from 4 o'clock in the morning till 12 o'clock, you can just keep your mobile and look at the YouTube. Many of us are caught up in that. But we don't realize that is waste of time and waste of energy, waste of life. What does Bhagavad Gita say? Come back to the center, come back to your Atma, make it a practice through Upasana, a daily 5 to 10 minutes of meditation is an exercise, Abhyasa, to come back to your center. All of us are caught. So what is the basic solution to happiness and peace in life? Right action, right knowledge. When one's life is governed by dharma and jnanam, dharma means the Veda Purva portion. When you study, it will give you a simple, how to lead a simple life. And jnanam is given in the Veda Anta portion. Anta means end portion. What we are studying now in Bhagavad Gita is Veda Anta portion. One of the main obstacles to realize this Atma is our emotions. And these emotions are big obstacles when we want to follow a dharmic life in the world. Shankaracharya repeats again and again in the second chapter how to control the emotions so that we can use our discriminative ability of the intellect to have a proper way of life. See, don't forget our goal is peace and happiness. But for that peace and happiness is our goal. But that is the destination. But practically, how do I do it? Right action, right knowledge. Yoga Shastram is right action. Brahma Vidya is right knowledge. Again and again in the last portion of the Bhagavad Gita, in every chapter, Lord Krishna will remind us this chapter is supposed to give us right action and right knowledge. Every chapter ends with these two, with a statement which says two aspects you should learn from the Gita is right action, Yoga Shastram, and Brahma Vidya. Brahma Vidya is very, very important, because if you can get Brahma Vidya, that is the ultimate goal of life. Now, coming back to the background of the first chapter, Mahabharata is a war between Pandavas and Kauravas. It takes place in the holy city of Kurukshetra, which is near Delhi. Before the war, there was an attempt made to avoid the war by Sama, Dana, Bheda, non-violent methods, explaining to them war is not useful, it is going to cause a lot of deaths, it is immoral, it is adharmic. All those reasons, logic reasons were tried. Krishna tried to have a peace mission between Kauravas and Pandavas. But when everything failed, then they took up to fight. Pandavas, primarily 5 in number, Kauravas 100 in number. Pandavas are called as dharmic people who follow Veda Purva portion. Who are Kauravas? Kauravas are adharmic. Pandavas wanted a little bit of land to live so that they can live in a society. Well, Kauravas didn't give them that small piece of land also. Therefore, war started. Arjuna had dharma in mind in the beginning of the war. Try to understand this very, very carefully. Arjuna went into the battlefield with dharma in mind, to fight a dharmic war. But slowly he becomes a victim of his emotions, of his attachment, raga, to his kith and kin, his brothers, his guru, his teacher. So he lost the sight of dharma and he started following his emotions rather than his intellectual understanding. It is a dharmic war. So there was a misplaced attachment. Ahimsa, non-violence, is dharmic. It is dharmic rule. Don't hurt anybody is dharma. But if you use that in the wrong place, where himsa is the duty, then you are deluded. So what does Lord Krishna do? He only corrects the vision for Arjuna. We will see in the first chapter how it goes. When you complete the chapter, you will understand the full background to this short introduction. There are 47 verses in the first chapter. The first 20 verses describe the story of the Pandavas and the Kauravas How did the war begin? Who was the charioteer for Arjuna? All the description is given in the first 20 verses. 21 to 25, Arjuna asks Lord Krishna to bring his chariot right in front, in the middle of the battlefield, where Arjuna could see with whom he is going to fight. Bhishma, Drona, these are all people, they were all very closely connected with Arjuna. Drona was the teacher for Arjuna in archery. So all that drama is explained in 21 to 25. 26 to 47 is the central portion of the first chapter. About 22 verses. Arjuna discovers samsara. The three stages of samskara is, first is raga. Raga means over attachment. Normal attachment we understand. In 25 to 28, raga is explained. Shoka is explained from 29 to 35. Shoka means sorrow. Anytime you have an attachment to any person in life, it will always lead to sorrow in the end. Any attachment is always ending in detachment. Either I go away or the other person goes away. So there is sorrow. Now, raga and shoka are the causes of delusion in the intellect. Try to understand this psychological process of the first chapter. Raga leads to shoka. Shoka leads to moha. Moha is at the intellectual level. Raga is at the mind level. Sorrow is also at the mind level. But delusion is at the intellect level. You are always confused in life. When you are confused, what happens? Wrong action. See, this aspect of Bhagavad Gita you must discover in yourself before the end of the study. While you're doing study itself of the third chapter, you will start understanding all this raga, shoka, moha, raga, shoka, moha. This three raga, shoka, moha is called as samsara varnanam. And a student wants to gets tivra mumukshutvam, means he wants to dissociate with this sorrow. Therefore, he surrenders to the teacher, Sharanagati. Karpanya Bhava in the second chapter, the first 10 verses will tell you how Arjuna felt miserable because of this delusion in his mind, and that delusion which is caused because of his attachment to his kith and kin. So this is the broad categorization of the first chapter. 4 sections. First section is the story. Second chapter is the central process by which Arjuna discovers his problem. The third section is the central portion. Don't miss this section because this is the central. And the last one is the stages which we understand in a student. How do I practice this in ourselves? Each one should ask a question to himself or herself. Am I today happy in life? If I am happy in life, I don't need Gita. But will this happiness last forever? Or there will be some problem, some sorrow in life? Should I get ready for that some sorrow which may come in the future? Yes. Then you are intelligent. Having a shock absorber of emotional disturbances is an intelligent way of life. Having that, so learning the Bhagavad Gita, I will understand what are the shocks which may come to me in my life, in the form of death, of the near and in terms of death, in terms of failures in life, losses in life, dishonor in life. These are all problems which everybody will face at some time or the other. Now let us go. I am going to do this 47 verses in a quick way. I am going to be very brief. Just give you the word meaning and run the 47 verses, because it is a story form. Even if you read these notes, you will get the gist of this entire first chapter.
Dhritarashtra uvacha Dharmakshetre kurukshetre Dharmakshetre kurukshetre Samaveta yuyutsavaha Samaveta yuyutsavaha Mamakah pandavaschaiva Mamakah pandavaschaiva Kimakurvata Sanjaya Kimakurvata Sanjaya.
Dhritarashtra is a blind king whose sons are Kauravas. They are fighting an adharmic war. Dhritarashtra has got Sanjaya, who is sitting next to him, but he has got a power, a mystic power to understand what is happening in the battlefield. So Dhritarashtra asked Sanjaya, can you tell me what is happening in the battlefield between my sons and the Pandavas, who are both there to fight a battle? So Sanjaya, he defines what is the structure of the battlefield between verses 2 to 20. It is not an important portion of the Bhagavad Gita. It is just a academic just exercise of what is the description of the battlefield.
Sanjaya uvacha Drishtva tu Pandavanikam Drishtva tu Pandavanikam Vyudham Duryodhanastada Vyudham Duryodhanastada Acharyamupasangamya Acharyamupasangamya Raja Vachanamabravit Raja Vachanamabravit.
So here the first description is about King Duryodhana, who is examining his own soldiers and that of the opposition, that is Pandavas. Now Duryodhana is from the Kauravas. He is adharmic. So he becomes a little diffident to face the Pandavas, because he knows it's adharmic war he is fighting. See, if you are adharmic means if you are not having a proper life, a proper conduct of life, you will always be diffident in your lifestyle. You know, when you are facing the world, you will always feel a little bit guilty. So he was feeling guilty that he is fighting an adharmic war, trying to start a war because he has not given land to the Pandavas. He has done so many other mistakes, which we'll see in the other verses. Next verse.
Pashyaitam Panduputranam Pashyaitam Panduputranam Acharya Mahatim Chamum आचार्य महतीं च मूं व्यूढां द्रुपदपुत्रेण तव शिष्येण धीमता.
Little bit more descriptions. Duryodhana told Drona, the teacher, these are all the Kauravas side, Pandavas are arrayed to kill you. And all the list of Pandavas' army, the list of people who are fighting with Dronacharya and Duryodhana, he gives in the next 3 verses, 4, 5 and 6. There's not much to say, it is only the names of the people who are involved in the battlefield.
Atra shura maheshvasaah Bhimarjuna samayudhi Yuyudhano viratascha Drupadascha Maharathah.
In this verse, he talks about 11,000 archers who are fighting against Arjuna. And the names are given: Yudhana, Virata, Drupada, Bhima and Arjuna. These are the 3 people who are fighting against Bhima and Arjuna, each of them having 11,000 warriors and so on. In the next verse also, the names of their different kings who are supporting both the groups have been given. The son of Subhadra and the son of Draupadi, all of them, these are all the names of great warriors. I'll just play the 2 verses and then we'll go forward.
दृष्टकेतुश्चेकितानः काशीराजश्च वीर्यवान् पुरुजित् कुन्तिभोजश्च शैभ्यश्च नरपुङ्गवः युधामन्युश्च विक्रान्तः उत्तमौजाश्च वीर्यवान् सौभद्रो द्रौपदेयाश्च सर्व एव महारथाः.
So as I said, these are all just the names of the warriors.
अस्माकं तु विशिष्ठाये तान्निबोध द्विजोत्तमा नायका मम सैन्यस्य संज्ञार्थं तान् ब्रवीमि ते.
So in 3, 4, 5, 6, the warriors on the Pandava side were mentioned. And then this is a dialogue going on between Duryodhana and Dronacharya. Dronacharya is supposed to be one of the teachers of Arjuna also in archery. But he is on the side of Kauravas. Now, Duryodhana is now saying, I will next enlist the people who are there in fighting in our side. which is there in the 8th verse.
भवान् भीष्मश्च कर्णश्च भवान् भीष्मश्च कर्णश्च कृपश्च समितिञ्जयः कृपश्च समितिञ्जयः अश्वत्थामा विकर्णश्च अश्वत्थामा विकर्णश्च सौमदत्तिस्तथैव च सौमदत्तिस्तथैव च.
Here the most important person is Bhishma, who is the field marshal, who was the commander in chief. And the other names are given of the other warriors.
अन्ये च बहवः शूराः अन्ये च बहवः शूराः मदर्थे त्यक्तजीविताः मदर्थे त्यक्तजीविताः नानाशस्त्रप्रहरणाः नानाशस्त्रप्रहरणाः सर्वे युद्धविशारदाः सर्वे युद्धविशारदाः.
So here Duryodhana, he is talking to Dronacharya and says there are so many thousands of people who are ready to lay down lives for my sake. See, the size of Kauravas was very, very big compared to the size of the Pandavas. But still, the Kauravas were feeling diffident because of adharma. That is what is important in these verses.
अपर्याप्तं तदस्माकम् अपर्याप्तं तदस्माकं बलं भीष्माभिरक्षितं बलं भीष्माभिरक्षितं पर्याप्तं त्विदमेतेषां पर्याप्तं त्विदमेतेषां बलं भीमाभिरक्षितं बलं भीमाभिरक्षितं.
Who was fighting on Lord Krishna was on whose side? Was he on Kaurava's side or Pandava's side? Lord Krishna was on the side of Pandavas. He was the charioteer of Arjuna. So Krishna supported Arjuna. Therefore, Duryodhana was feeling a little bit uncomfortable. He said, Lord Krishna is with them. How are we going to fight? So he is having he is thinking that even though his army is very big, because Krishna is there on the side of Arjuna, he feels weak.
अयनेषु च सर्वेषु यथा भागमवस्थिताः भीष्ममेवाभिरक्षन्तु भवन्तः सर्व एव हि.
So what do they say? They say try to protect the field marshal Bhishma, because if you lose the commander in chief, you have lost the war. So Dronacharya was asked to protect Bhishma. That is the 11th verse.
तस्य सञ्जनयन् हर्षं कुरुवृद्धः पितामहः सिंहनादं विनद्योच्चैः सिंहनादं विनद्योच्चैः शङ्खं दद्मौ प्रतापवान् शङ्खं दद्मौ प्रतापवान्.
So Bhishma Acharya wanted to generate confidence in Duryodhana. Don't be so weak. You're in the battlefield. The field marshal is teaching one of the Kauravas and says, be like a lion. So what he does, Bhishma Acharya blows his conch. And it was so loud, it was like a roar in the battlefield. Every soldier in the battlefield, thousands are there, right from one end to the other end. Everybody could hear that conch of Bhishma. Why do they blow the conch? So that they know that the war is about to start. See, in the forest, when the lion roars, it wants to frighten other animals to run away. But the animals cannot discover where is that sound coming from. And then they land up right in front of the lion itself, because they can't make out. Similarly, the conch was so powerful, it announced the start of the war.
ततः शङ्खाश्च भैर्यश्च ततः शङ्खाश्च भैर्यश्च पणवानकगोमुखाः पणवानकगोमुखाः सहसैवाभ्यहन्यन्त सहसैवाभ्यहन्यन्त सशब्दस्तु मूलोऽभवत् सशब्दस्तु मूलोऽभवत्.
See, in the battlefield, in order to frighten the opposition, the enemies, those whole, in the olden days, they used to beat the drums and then blow the trumpet, and so many different methods were used to frighten the enemies. So that is what is being described in the 13th verse. So many different types of instruments were used by both the sides in the battlefield.
ततः श्वेतैर्हयैर्युक्ते ततः श्वेतैर्हयैर्युक्ते महति स्यन्दने स्थितौ महति स्यन्दने स्थितौ माधवः पाण्डवश्चैव माधवः पाण्डवश्चैव दिव्यौ शङ्खौ प्रदध्मतुः दिव्यौ शङ्खौ प्रदध्मतुः.
So now the Pandavas in white horses also blew their conches, and these were very, very powerful conches. In this battlefield, Lord Krishna and Arjuna were in a huge chariot, not a small one, huge, and they were driven by white horses and especially gifted by the Devatas. See, in the battlefield, if your chariot is given by the Devatas, it must be very, very strong. Krishna's conch was called Panchajanya. Arjuna's conch was called Devadatta. In Kathopanishad, a chariot example is given just as a side point. Our body is like a chariot. The horses are compared to the sense organs. 5 sense organs connected to the body, like five horses connected to the chariot. The reins which control the horses is the mind. The mind controls the sense organs. Who controls the mind? The mind is controlled by the driver, intellect. Who is driving? Intellect. Who decides the destination? Where should the body go? Whether it should go to a shopping mall or whether it should come to a Gita class? It is the intellect which decides. And who is the rider? It is the Jivatma. So Jivatma is different than the mind, intellect and the body. Are you able to understand? Yes. Jivatma is the reflected consciousness which is in this body. It has to know it is not the reflected consciousness, it is not that awareness only in the body, but it is the Jivatma has to discover I am the total consciousness which is Paramatma. Jivatma Paramatma Aikyam is the journey of our life. I have to know I am an indweller in this body, correct? I am not the sense organs. I am not the physical body which is made up of Panchabhutas. I am not the mind. Mind is also made of subtle Panchabhutas. Mind, body, world is Panchabhutas. Chandogya Upanishad very beautifully gives a description of the world. World is nothing but gross elements and subtle elements in different forms. And we give different names to it. That's all. Nama and Rupa is the world of Panchabhutas. But inside this body and outside there is an enlivening principle, awareness principle, a spiritual principle which we should know through the Bhagavad Gita. Just a side note of Kathopanishad.
पाञ्चजन्यं ऋषिकेशः पाञ्चजन्यं ऋषिकेशः देवदत्तं धनञ्जयः देवदत्तं धनञ्जयः पौण्ड्रं दद्मौ महाशङ्खं पौण्ड्रं दद्मौ महाशङ्खं भीमकर्मा वृकोदरः भीमकर्मा वृकोधरः.
The names of the conches are continuing in this 15th verse, 16th verse and the other verses. Only the names of the conches, they are not very important. Lord Krishna has got a name Rishikesha. Rishikesha means Lord of the senses and the mind. Who is the Lord of the senses and the mind? It is that consciousness, Atma. Without the consciousness, there is no body, there is no world. Everything is in consciousness, and consciousness is our real nature. 16th verse also is only gives the names of the conscious.
अनन्तविजयं राजा अनन्तविजयं राजा कुन्तीपुत्रो युधिष्ठिरः कुन्तीपुत्रो युधिष्ठिरः नकुलः सहदेवश्च नकुलः सहदेवश्च सुघोषमणिपुष्पकौ सुघोषमणिपुष्पकौ.
See, all the different people who are in different armies, the names and their conches are continuing. King Yudhishthira, his conch name was Ananta Vijaya. Nakula's conch was called Sughosha. Sahadeva's conch was called Manipushpaka. There is a lot of meaning behind the Sanskrit names also, but anyway, we will not go into the depth of all that. Just to get a glimpse of the different people and the names of conches used.
काश्यश्च परमेश्वासः काश्यश्च परमेश्वासः शिखण्डी च महारथः शिखण्डी च महारथः दृष्टद्युम्नो विराटश्च दृष्टद्युम्नो विराटश्च सात्यकिश्चापराजितः सात्यकिश्चापराजितः.
They were kings of different other kingdoms who were fighting along with both the sides, either with the Pandava side or with the Kaurava side. Different other small kingdoms were also in the battlefield of Mahabharata. That is why it's called Mahabharata war. So almost the whole nation was involved in the war. So here he talks about the ruler of Kashi, a great archer, Shikhandi, a chariot warrior, Virata Satyaki, who is supposed to be invisible warrior, and so on.
द्रुपदो द्रौपदेयाश्च द्रुपदो द्रौपदेयाश्च सर्वशः पृथिवीपते सर्वशः पृथिवीपते सौभद्रश्च महाबाहुः सौभद्रश्च महाबाहुः शङ्खान् दद्मुः पृथक् पृथक् शङ्खान् दद्मुः पृथक् पृथक्.
So Draupadi's sons, Subhadra's sons also were blowing conches is mentioned in the 18th verse.
सघोषो धार्तराष्ट्राणाम् सघोषो धार्तराष्ट्राणाम् हृदयानि व्यदारयत् हृदयानि व्यदारयत् नभश्च पृथिवीं चैव नभश्च पृथिवीं चैव तुमुलो व्यनुनादयन् तुमुलो व्यनुनादयन्.
Here Sanjaya says that the noise coming from the Pandava side was much more louder than the noise coming from the Kauravas. Even though they had a smaller army, the Pandavas, but because of their fight for dharma, their conches, when they were blowing, it could create a great fear among a huge army of Kauravas. So when we lead a life of dharma, we are by the side of Bhagavan. A dharmic life is very, very important in our day-to-day living. It is the real security and the real wealth for us in our life journey. Dharma.
अत व्यवस्थितान् दृष्ट्वा अत व्यवस्थितान् दृष्ट्वा धार्तराष्ट्रान् कपिध्वजः धार्तराष्ट्रान् कपिध्वजः प्रवृत्ते शस्त्रसम्पाते प्रवृत्ते शस्त्रसम्पाते धनुरुद्यम्य पाण्डवः धनुरुद्यम्य पाण्डवः.
So the fighting was about to begin. Arjuna's, in his chariot, Arjuna's chariot, there was a flag with a picture of Hanuman. Some say that Hanuman was sitting on top, always supporting Arjuna. Now Arjuna is a Chiranjeevi. Chiranjeevi means he is permanently 80, for he never becomes old. And he is present in an invisible form. And Hanumanji he is said to have listened to the Bhagavad Gita, and he himself, according to some people, he says that there is a commentary available of Hanumanji on the Bhagavad Gita called Hanumat Paisasa Bhashyam. Paisasa means invisible spirit. I don't have a copy of this, but this is what the teachers have said. Arjuna lifted his bow to indicate that he is not yet ready to fight, but wanted to have a dialogue with his Sarathi, Lord Krishna. Almost ready to fight, take his bow and start the war. But before that, what happened? The verses 21 to 27, you can see how Arjuna places his chariot in between the two armies. And what happens to him is described in the next 6-7 verses.
ऋषिकेशं तदा वाक्यम् ऋषिकेशं तदा वाक्यम् इदमाह महीपते इदमाह महीपते अर्जुन उवाच सेनयोरुभयोर्मध्ये रथं स्थापयमेच्युत रथं स्थापयमेच्युत.
So in the 21st verse, there are two words which came from Rishikesham, Tada Vakyam, Idamaha Mahipate. It is chanted in the next verse. That's what you heard in the beginning. Here, Arjuna says, please place my chariot. He addresses Lord Krishna, the charioteer. I want to see who I am fighting with. Let me know who I am going to fight with. I want to come into the middle of the battlefield and see the entire opposition. That's what he says in the 21st mantra.
यावदेतान्निरीक्षेऽहम् योद्धुकामानवस्थितान् कैर्मया सह योद्धव्यम् अस्मिन् रणसमुद्यमे.
So here, like I said before, Arjuna expresses his desire to understand with whom he is going to fight. And this is where he has a complete emotional meltdown. What happens? Let's hear.
योत्स्यमानानवेक्षेऽहम् य एतेऽत्र समागताः धार्तराष्ट्रस्य दुर्बुद्धे युद्धे प्रियचिकीर्षवः
So when he comes to the middle of the battlefield and looks at Dhritarashtra's, and then what does he feel? He says Dhritarashtra has committed Panchamaha Patakam, which means he has done lot of evils in the society. So the opposition, Kauravas, have burnt the property of others. That is one of the adharmic activity. What is the second adharmic activity? They have poisoned people so that they can rule over them. They have attacked with people who have got no weapons to fight. See, normally in the battlefield, you fight with somebody who's got another weapon. They have taken the wife of others. They have looted the properties. So all these are all crimes connected with the Kauravas. This shows that Arjuna understood the adharmic nature of Kauravas. But still, why did Arjuna lose his control? Because of his emotional attachment. So his emotions, they clouded this intellectual judgment which he had. He had come to fight the dharmic battle, but his emotions clouded his intellect and his rational thinking was affected. When our emotions control us, become aware. This is a verse which we should use in our own practical way. This is a knowledge which we get from the Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna was emotionally affected and this happened to him in the battlefield. But how should we take it in our life? Whenever in our life, see, we are all affected by the life situations when they come. So many different problems they come. And then we lose our balance. And emotions take over us. Anger comes, jealousy comes, delusion comes. All this is put together is called as samsara. All the emotions put together is called as samsara. Emotions which cause problems to us. Emotions can also give us joy. It was so good, very good, nice. You won the first seat, you got the first prize. All that is emotions also. There are negative emotions and positive emotions. In both of them, Lord Krishna says you must have samatva buddhi. In the second chapter, 38th verse, one of the most important verses in Bhagavad Gita, he says, samadukhe samokritva labha labho jaya jayo. In all situations, have samatva buddhi. One of the best lessons we can get from Bhagavad Gita. It is something which has to be practiced. You see, whenever our emotions go out of control, bring it back with the knowledge that I am the Atma, which is aware of these emotions, which is, you become alert. Because Lord Krishna will teach us what is this Atma and where is it there, where is it in this body. So once you know that, you will be successful in life.
Sanjaya uvacha eva mukto rishikeshah eva mukto rishikeshah gudakeshena bharata gudakeshena bharata senayorubhayor madhye स्थापयित्वा रथोत्तमम्.
So here Sanjaya, again from the battlefield, the Bhagavad Gita takes us to the commentary box. Sanjaya is now telling Dhritarashtra what happens in the battlefield. Lord Krishna takes that chariot and he is placing between the two armies. That is what is said in the 24th verse.
Bhishma Drona Pramukhatah Sarvesham cha Mahikshitam Uvacha Partha Pashyaitan Samavetan Kuruniti.
So, where does Lord Krishna place the chariot? Right in front of two very important personalities which Arjuna knows very well, Dronacharya and Bhishma. Very important people in the Kaurava side. Right in front of them, this chariot was placed. That is what is said in the 25th verse. If he had placed the chariot before Duryodhana, war would have started and there would have been no Gita teaching also. Gudakesha is an alert person. He's not a slave or Rajoguna or Tamoguna. Gudakesha is a name given to Lord Krishna. If a person has got Rajoguna, he will have a restless mind. If a person has got Tamoguna, he will have a wandering mind. So a person who is collected in his thoughts is called as Gudakesha, who has tied his Kesha like a Guda and he is in control. So a mind which is not which is a mind which is a wandering mind, a restless mind cannot be a learning mind. So what we should learn is, in life we should try to control our mind. Whenever it is disturbed, restless, try to bring it back to the center by saying, I am the Atma, I am not at all affected by the mind. Mind is going through some prarabdha situations outside, but let me bring this mind back to myself. This is a very important lesson, a practical lesson for all of us from the Bhagavad Gita. Don't be enslaved by the Rajoguna. Rajo means activity. Okay, to a certain extent we all have to do activity, but overactivity is what we have to control. Similarly, Tamoguna. Don't keep on sleeping all the hours. Control the sleep. If you are doing both this, you are a Gudakesha.
Tatrapashya sthitan parthaha Tatrapashya sthitan parthaha Pitrunatha pitamahan Pitrunatha pitamahan Acharyan Matulan bhratrun Acharyan Matulan bhratrun Putran pautran sakhims tatha Putran pautran sakhims tatha.
So what did Arjuna see? He saw all his uncles, grandfather, teacher, cousins, grandsons of friends, father-in-laws, so many people whom he knew. They were all fighting against him. Arjuna started thinking of his childhood days, his youth, his boyhood days where he played with his grandfather. But he is now fighting against him. So many problems could happen when we come to know that we have to kill somebody who has been so closely associated with us.
Svasuran suhridaschaiva Svasuran suhridaschaiva Senayorubhayorapi Senayorubhayorapi Tan samikshya sa kaunteyah Tan samikshya sa kaunteyah Sarvan bandhunavasthitan Sarvan bandhunavasthitan Kripaya paraya vishtah Kripaya paraya vishtah Vishidannidamabravit विषीदन्निदमब्रवीत्.
When Arjuna saw that he has to fight the war with all his relatives on the opposite side, he loses his strength, his manliness, his power, by which he came to fight in the battlefield. The emotions took over Arjuna's mind. He loses the discrimination, a discrimination which is born out of ignorance. He lost his intellectual ability to understand what is a dharmic war and why is he fighting in the first place. When he loses this control, that is where he falls. In life, we have to be a jnata and a karta, and we are a bhokta. Jnata means a perceiver. Karta means a doer. Bhokta means enjoyer. All of us, we have to be a jnata and karta predominantly, and we should control our bhokta nature. Jnata and karta is a life of learning, dharma. It gives us dharmic ananda. This leads us to know the truth behind the world. Jnata and karta should become prominent. Dharma ananda and vidya ananda should be good for our health. What happens when we are bhoktas? When we become bhokta, bhokta means when we keep on enjoying the world. If that becomes enjoyment, becomes the primary goal of life, we have raga, which is attachment. We have mental disturbances, which are called as shoka. It ends in grief. So we become dependent on Vishaya Ananda. In the case of a Jnata and a Karta, it is Dharma Ananda. In the case of Bhokta, it is Vishaya Ananda. We become dependent on the objects and beings in the world. The mind becomes gripped with attachment and sorrow. These are two very, very powerful forces which cloud our mind, which disturbed our mind. So what are the steps? Raga leads to shoka, shoka leads to moha, moha leads to samsara. Attachment leads to sorrow, sorrow leads to delusion, delusion is called as samsara. Samsara means taking birth and birth again and again in different bodies. So the lesson to learn is Vishaya Ananda is injurious to health. Dharmananda and Vidya Ananda. Vidya Ananda means Ananda born out of learning Atma Vidya. That is good for our life. So when Arjuna saw the dear and near ones, he forgot his dharma because he was attached to them. His raga became very severe. Shoka and moha were the consequences. 26 to 28, Arjuna comes under the spell of raga and shoka, and attachment, which causes loss of discrimination, clouds our intellect. When the clouding happens in the intellect, grief is a natural consequence. What exactly was Arjuna's conflict? We are going to see next week in verses 28 to 30. So 47 verses are there. We'll complete the first chapter next week, and then we will start the second chapter. Before we start the second chapter, I might take a small survey. I want to find out whether you will be continuing the learning for a longer time. I'm thinking of conducting a survey before we start the second chapter. Okay, I'll let you know on this. With this, we'll close today's talk. Om Purnamadat Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachade Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.